Let's be honest, hiring is one of the hardest things we do. You're looking for that needle in a haystack, someone who can really think strategically, but all you seem to get are candidates who've memorized all the right answers. Well, what if there was a better way to interview? It turns out it might all come down to one single powerful question.
Really think about your last few interviews. Did you actually get a sense of how that person analyzes problems and comes up with solutions? Or did it feel like you were just listening to a polished script they'd practice in the mirror a dozen times? If you are so tired of those vague, generic answers, then you're going to want to hear this. So, first, let's dive into what I call the hiring blind spot. This is the fundamental flaw in most interviews that honestly keeps us from seeing who a candidate really is. You know the drill, right? We ask those classic questions. So, what are your biggest strengths? Or, where do you see yourself in 5 years? The problem is, every candidate on the planet knows those questions are coming. They show up with these perfectly crafted, super safe answers that tell you next to nothing about how they actually think on their feet. And that is a huge risk. When you hire someone who just interviews well but can't actually perform, it costs you way more than just a salary. We're talking wasted time, lost productivity, it can even tank team morale. We have got to find a way to see past the performance and find the real person. So how do we get them to break script? How do we see what's really going on in their head? Well, it turns out there's one question that can totally flip the dynamic of an interview and show you what a candidate is truly made of. Let's get into it. That's it. So simple, right? What do you think we are doing wrong? It is so direct and unbelievably revealing. See, instead of asking what they can do for you, you're asking them to critique you. And that immediately shifts them from being a passive person answering questions to an active consultant solving a problem. And look, this isn't just some clever trick I came up with. This exact question is used by Elizabeth Gore, the CEO of Hello Alice. She absolutely swears by it as her go-to method for spotting the true A players, the people who've actually done their homework and aren't afraid to think critically. Because this question isn't really about finding fault. It's a direct test of their strategic thinking. Can this person see the bigger picture? Can they identify a core challenge and then, actually explain it clearly? It shows you they've done way more than just skim the homepage of your website. But, just pointing out a problem is only half the battle. The real magic, and I mean the real magic, happens with the follow-up question. And how would you help us hit our goals? This is what pushes them from critique to contribution. And that's where high-level talent really, truly shines. Now, how they respond to this question and its follow-up, well, that's what really separates a good candidate from a truly great one. It tells you pretty much everything you need to know. So a pretty good candidate might give you a vague observation, something like, well, your marketing isn't great. Okay, thanks. But a great candidate, they'll pinpoint a specific issue and immediately pivot to a concrete solution. They'll say something like, I noticed your user acquisition cost seems high. Here's a specific strategy I've used in the past that could help you grow your organic reach. See the difference? That's the difference between a critic and a builder. An answer like that makes a candidate stand out, no question. But to even get the chance to give that amazing answer, they first have to get past this huge, invisible wall. A staggering 75% of resumes get automatically rejected by those applicant tracking systems, the bots, before a human being ever even lays eyes on them. And that is the exact problem our sponsor, MobileCV.ai, was built to solve. Their tool uses world-class AI to take any document and turn it into a perfectly formatted ATS-optimized CV in about 60 seconds, and make sure a real person actually gets to see it. And what I really love is that there are no monthly subscriptions. You just pay for what you use, and they even give you 3 free credits to start. For talented people just trying to get in the door, it's a total game changer. All right, so let's get back to our power question. As awesome as it is, I gotta tell you, it's not a silver bullet. You have to use it wisely, and there are some really important words of caution to keep in mind here. First off, this question is best saved for leadership or C-suite type positions. Asking a junior developer what the CEO is doing wrong is probably just gonna get you a blank stare. Second, you have to consider the context. In some cultures, it's a huge faux pas to criticize a potential employer. So if a candidate hesitates, it's not necessarily a red flag. And finally, your delivery is everything. You have to ask it confidently, like an invitation for their expertise, not like some kind of confrontational gotcha moment. So, how can you actually put all this into practice in your next hiring round? Let's just walk through a really simple, actionable plan to make this technique work for you. Okay, Putting it all together, it looks like this. Step 1, only use this for the right strategic roles. Step 2, when you ask, frame it as a confident invitation. 3, listen for solutions, not just problems. 4, always use that powerful follow-up. And finally, step 5, assess their entire response with context. Remember, this isn't about finding one perfect answer. It's about opening up a real strategic dialogue. At the end of the day, a single, well-placed question can tell you more than an hour of the standard ones. It helps you find the people who don't just want a job, they want to make a real impact. And that leaves me with one final question for you to think about. What's the biggest blind spot in your current hiring process?